Have you ever wondered about the raw power of unwavering faith, even in the face of dire trials? Today we explore the incredible life of Daniel, one of the great prophets of the Old Testament, whose stories encapsulate the essence of tested, courageous faith. Through his example and those of many like him, we will delve into how absolute obedience to God's commands can transform trials into triumphs. The Old Testament chronicles the long history of God's interactions with humanity, emphasizing a core message: absolute obedience to God's words. This obedience ensures God's protection and provision, manifesting in miraculous ways when his people held unshakable faith in him. From the parting of the Red Sea to the walls of Jericho falling down, each story reinforces the idea that when humans fully commit to God's commandments, he unfolds his power in unprecedented ways. Throughout history, numerous prophets walked paths of persecution and martyrdom, guided by their unwavering faith. Their stories are not just historical accounts, but lessons on the power of steadfast belief in God's sovereignty. These prophets, often facing unimaginable dangers, chose to remain faithful, showcasing that true power lies not in weapons or human strength, but in unwavering belief in the Almighty. Daniel stands as a monumental figure in biblical history. Captured and taken to Babylon, he remained devoted, consistently displaying his faith by praying 3 times a day, despite the threats against his life. His dedication in the face of adversity serves as a profound example of how persistent faith can steer one through the darkest times. A decree that forbade praying to any god except the king aimed to target Daniel directly. Yet Daniel's response was not fear, but a deeper commitment to his faith, openly praying to Jehovah and facing the consequences. This act of defiance was not just about personal survival, but a testament to his unyielding devotion to God. Daniel's faith led him to a lion's den, where he was thrown as punishment for his disobedience to the king's decree. His survival, protected by God who shut the lions' mouths, stands as a powerful testament to the protective power of faith. This miraculous event illustrates that when we place our trust in God, he can save us in ways that defy human understanding. Daniel's ordeal in the lion's den highlights a crucial aspect of faith: reliance on God's unseen forces. His deliverance was a divine act that showcased God's dominion over even the most dire circumstances. This story teaches us that physical visibility does not limit God's power. Rather, it magnifies the strength that comes from believing in the unseen. The prophets taught us through their lives that to follow God's will, one must establish a principle of obedience rooted deeply in history. This obedience often meant choosing God over the most intimidating earthly powers. Their lives were marked by moments where choosing divine instructions over earthly logic was not only necessary, but pivotal for their survival and mission. From Moses to the lesser-known prophets, each story in the Old Testament adds layers to our understanding of faith. These stories collectively teach us about the strength required to trust in God's plans, regardless of earthly logic. Whether it was standing against Pharaoh or facing down giants, the heroes of faith teach us that God's plans often require us to act against conventional wisdom. Daniel's story culminates in a dramatic test of faith, facing death in the lion's den. His unyielding faith under such extreme testing teaches us about the power of divine intervention. It underscores that true faith persists even when the outcome seems impossible, relying wholly on God's provision and protection. Reflecting on Daniel's life in today's context, we see the timeless nature of faith. It challenges us to consider how we might respond to our own lion's dens, the modern trials we face daily. Whether these challenges are spiritual, physical, or emotional, Daniel's example encourages us to face them with courage and faith. Every believer today faces moments that test their faith. Daniel's example inspires us to confront these moments with courage, trusting that God is with us, guiding and protecting as he did with his prophets. These tests often come without warning, and how we respond can define our faith journey. Daniel's faith did not go unnoticed. His steadfastness brought him out of the den unharmed, proving that faithfulness to God can yield miraculous deliverance and divine favor. This story reminds us that while the rewards of faith might not always be immediate, they are certain and can surpass all expectations. The legacy of Daniel and other biblical figures challenges us to hold on to our faith amidst trials. Their lives remind us that true faith is often tested, but also rewarded. This legacy is not just about the past, it's a continual call to live a life of faith that endures and inspires. The stories of these faithful individuals reach beyond their historical contexts, impacting believers worldwide. They serve as universal examples of how deep faith can overcome immense obstacles, teaching us that our spiritual battles are not fought alone, but with the might of divine assistance. As modern-day believers, we draw strength from these examples of courageous faith. They encourage us to remain faithful, promising that, like Daniel, our faith will not be in vain. These stories fortify us, providing the spiritual endurance needed to navigate life's challenges with grace and strength. In exploring the life of Daniel and the teachings of the prophets, we see the profound impact of a life led by courageous faith. Let these stories inspire you to cultivate a deeper faith in your own life. Remember, no matter the trials you face with God, all things are possible. Let us hold fast to our faith, encouraged by the promise of God's unending presence and power. If this message has inspired you, don't forget to subscribe for more insights and stories of faith. Thank you for watching, and may your faith always be as courageous as Daniel's.